So, why did we bother with yesterday's lesson? Thank you for asking.
Because I was taking the test.
Yesterday's lesson taught us how to combine expressions to find the least common denominator, which, when you add or subtract fractions, is what you have to have. So that got your mind in the mindset of finding common denominator. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So here's I want to add those two fractions. I do, desperately. Almost more than anything else in the whole world. I'd rather add these two fractions together than have a puppy.
Wait, really?
Yeah. I have two dogs. I don't need another puppy. I don't need a puppy at this point.
I think that's a dog.
Aw, that's nice. Let's go back to the fractions.
This is so funny when you're going to get all in Blackboard here.
That's right. You can watch this lesson, and everything will be posted over the weekend, by the way. I was advised that if I wait until after 5 o'clock, it's much easier to load the videos. Yeah.
That's not much, actually.
Okay. All right. So the first step is to factor the denominators, or as we said in first period, factor the demons. Factor the denominators. So you can see my fraction on the left is already factored as x minus 1. My expression on the right is a trinomial. So to factor the trinomial, I want the factors of 2 that add up to -3, and they are -2 and -1. Make sure you understand that demons really means denominators.
That's all that sounds like.
Demon? Right. Then before or after you run screaming.
Going to factor you. Well, I can't speak it now.
multiplication order doesn't matter, they are identical. Okay, so the next step is to add the numerators and combine like terms. So I have x squared minus 2x added to 2x plus the 2x minus 1. You can see what happens when I combine my like terms. My negative 2x and my positive 2x cancel each other out, leaving me with just x squared minus 1. And you can see now we have just one fraction using the common denominator that we found earlier. Okay, the next step is to factor and then divide out common factors. Let's go through this one step by step. Okay, so x squared minus 1, that's the difference of two perfect squares. So my factors are what? What are my factors of x squared minus 1? X plus 1, x minus 1. And then I have on the denominator x minus 1 times x minus 2. And then I can cancel out my common terms. You can see I have an x minus 1 in both the numerator and the denominator, so I can cancel them out. Step number 7 is to simply rewrite the problem without the crossouts. And then step number 8 is to list any restrictions. Now the restrictions are going to come from the original problem, but what are we doing in this problem? We're combining two expressions into one common denominator, so we don't have to go that far back to find what values are in the denominator. We can, as long as we know that these are the only two factors, I don't have to go back to the earlier slides to see that these are my two factors. So my two restrictions are the two numbers that are going to make each of these add up to 0. So here I have, if my factor is x minus 1, the value that makes it add up to 0 is positive 1. If my factor is x minus 2, then my value is positive 2. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Questions? Subtraction is identical to addition, except for the fact that you'll be subtracting the second term instead of adding the two terms together. We're going to factor these, find the least common denominator, and then make any alterations to either fraction. So just quickly, I have x plus 2 here. Here I can factor out an x. Get x plus 2. Here I can factor out a 2. So what's missing from this side that's on this side? This is x times x minus 2.
A 2.
This is 2 times x minus 2. So this fraction is missing 2, and this fraction is missing an x. So I'm going to multiply this by 2 over 2. It's going to give me 2 times x plus 2 over 2x times x minus 2. I'm going to multiply this side by x over x. I'm going to distribute, so this gives me x squared plus 2x. This gives times x minus 2. So you can see everything I do is identical. Now I'm going to subtract. So I probably shouldn't have bothered factoring this. I should have left it. I'm going to make this 2x plus 4. So I get 2x plus 4 minus x squared plus 2x. Notice I'm leaving the denominator for now, because we can see what the denominator is going to be. So now, when you subtract, what do you have to do to that minus sign? I'll give you a hint. Distribute it.
Distribute it.
Thank you, Jillian.
No problem.
So this becomes, so I get 2x plus 4. My positive x squared becomes negative x squared. My positive 2x becomes negative 2x. Okay? Now I'm going to combine my like terms. So I get negative x squared. I have a 2x here and a negative 2x there. They cancel out. Otherwise known as 0. Yes? And then plus 4. Now hopefully this looks screwy to you. We're used to seeing the x squared be positive. So how do I fix that? We've done it before. How do I fix this and make the x squared positive? Yes, except we're going to divide by negative 1. It's the same thing. The only thing is that you have to bring that negative 1 outside the parentheses. So my negative x squared becomes positive. My positive 4 becomes negative. This will hopefully look familiar to you. Difference of 2 positive squared. So I get negative 1 times x plus 2, x minus 2. Now I can bring my denominator back in because I simplified the numerator as much as I can. What do I get? I get 2x times x minus 2. Well, I can cancel something out here, right? I can cancel out the x minus 2's. That leaves me with this, negative 1 over x plus 2 over 2x. So that's my answer. So you can see everything is the same, except we subtract. The practical impact of that is when you get to the combining part, you must distribute the minus sign over anything that's on the right-hand fraction. Okay? That's the biggest difference. Instead of just adding the stuff together, you've got to distribute it. And then my restrictions are,
Nope.
my restrictions are 2 from the x minus 2 and 0. Don't forget, when you have x by itself or x times something, your restriction is going to be 0. So my restrictions are 0 and 2. So I do apologize for going so quickly, but I do want to make sure we get it. I will be uploading all of this week's videos over the weekend.